and welcome to this edition of 1874 WKXY, where we talk fantasy sports and regular football. So today I have Kyle Williams and Peyton Gallagher. So today, guys, our first topic is Tom Brady's suspension.
Well, I think Tom Brady shouldn't be suspended because the only evidence is that the balls were slightly deflated, and that could happen because of the weather conditions at the time. And if you put overinflated football, they still win that game easily.
Well, to be fair, and I understand where you're coming from with that because the evidence isn't necessarily conclusive, but the NFL, the NFLPA, who'd they give the power to? Roger Goodell, who's the judge, jury, and prosecutor in these situations. So if he wants to make a ruling like that, I don't see where Tom Brady is in a position to combat that and argue that so heavily. And now that it's been, I guess, put back in place at the beginning of this year, and I'm sure he plans to appeal it again, it starts to question the power of Goodell. And if Goodell isn't in the position of power that he was put in by the NFL and the NFL Players Union, and one player can undermine that, what's the point of having a commissioner like this? So he made that ruling. It should be final. Any other player wouldn't have been exempt from it because it's Tom Brady.
Well, I believe that's not true because Greg Hardy, he appealed, but it got denied. The players have the right to appeal what they feel is unfair, and some players get their suspensions reduced. It's all a part of the process. So I think he should be able to appeal as many times as he wants if he feels that Roger Goodell is basically doing this because he's Tom Brady.
And again, to some extent, I agree. I think he's trying to make an example out of a player that's been viewed as a golden boy and exempt and above the law in some instances in the NFL. Tom Brady, let's be fair here, Tom Brady is perfection. Honestly, his life to this point is perfect. He's got a supermodel wife, so many Super Bowls. He doesn't know what to do with them. And I think Roger Goodell wants to make a point and say that nobody is above the law in the NFL. But for him to do that and Brady to just undermine the system completely over and over again is kind of frustrating as a fan and as a player because other players probably don't feel like they get the same treatment.
Well, I mean, Peyton Manning did. There was an accusation that he did HGH and that he harassed a girl in college, but you don't see Roger Goodell trying to get, that proven true against Peyton Manning. It's just because he's Tom Brady, the best quarterback to ever play the game. It's just, and he's the hot topic right now.
All right. So now moving on, we can move on to Johnny Manziel. What are your opinions on Johnny Manziel, Peyton?
Well, out of the gate, I backed Johnny Manziel. I really advocated for him. I thought he was getting an unfair shake in the NFL. And, I am disgusted with his actions. He is reckless. He's out of control. And at this point, I don't know if anybody can help him outside of himself. He's claimed he's going to go sober. The football's out of the question. You've heard it so many times, it's cliche. But football's out of the question here. It's not about football. It's about him as a man finding himself. He needs to go to rehab. He needs to get his life straightened out. He's done some horrible things that he needs to answer for. And he needs to stand up and be a man for once. He has not done that to this point. He's acting like a child.
Well, I'm not going to talk about his man here because I don't know him personally. I just know the actions he's done, and he's been at numerous parties over the past couple of years. As an NFL quarterback, which I can judge him as, I just felt he was always overrated. He was just that college quarterback, like 6'1", not that big, strong arm, I guess, kind of accurate. He was drafted by the Browns. I just didn't think he was ever going to be good anyway, and his personal life has kind of made it so that we don't know how good he could have been or how bad he could have been. But from that small sample that we got from Johnny Manziel, he was pretty bad.
And purely from a football perspective, actually, just so I might put myself on the other end of the spectrum, I thought he was decent when he played this year. He had some issues, especially that game in Kansas City in the 2-minute drill where they had an opportunity to go down the field and tie it up with a field goal, and they threw a pass to the sideline. The guy didn't get out of bounds, and he didn't know what was going on, lost control, and time ran out, and he threw his helmet on the field. That's not something your leader can do. So he's got maturity issues, like I said earlier, off and on the field. He's got maturity issues. But on the field, playing, throwing the football as a quarterback, I'm not sure how he was as a locker room guy and a leader, but the numbers speak for themselves. He was all right every time he started.
Well, I don't think that's a maturity issue because, you had an incident where Tom Brady, he cursed at his offensive coordinator. His frustration is going to happen with every quarterback. They're just so competitive, have big egos that they want to win every game. I just think that, he does have maturity issues from what we've seen, but I just don't think that was one example.
And you got a lot westward?
I would like Johnny Manziel to get the help he needs. Football, like I said earlier, is not the main concern for him right now. He needs to fix his life up. Football is second, but football could be a very good outlet for him to fix his life if somebody was willing to give him the opportunity after he's fixed everything with rehab.
Yeah, we can see how popular Manziel is in Cleveland right now. His jersey's selling for $1.99, so go get yours while it lasts. Staying on the topic of quarterback, I know this is kind of like a big question. No one really talks about it much, but best quarterback of all time that is not playing currently.
It's not
Ooh,
fun.
then that makes it a completely different debate
Well, then
because
that's
Tom
easy.
Brady is the guy that is the go-to argument. But to me, it comes down to two players, Peyton Manning and Joe Montana. Montana, fabulous career. We know what he did. Manning has a very different debate, and I think he's kind of a dark horse candidate. He's got the Super Bowls. He came up short. He's been accused for being a quote-unquote choker, but I think in football, the rings, if you got one, is not necessarily as big a deal as in other sports because it's so hard to complete that goal because it's such a team game. This team that he had in Denver, nobody's going to dispute. The defense carried them. They won in spite of Peyton Manning at times. But in Indy and early on, he has that one historic season, the second year in Denver, I believe, maybe the first, where he rewrote the record books completely. His numbers speak for themselves. His career speaks for itself. I know there's some off-the-field things that people are talking about now, but I do genuinely trust that he is a good person. And I think definitely he embodies the shrine, I guess you would call it, it's a bad wording, of greatness in the NFL. And I think he definitely has a case to be the first quarterback.
This one's
on
easy
anybody's
for me.
list.
It's the only other quarterback can even challenge Joe Montana is Tom Brady. Peyton Manning, he's a great regular season quarterback, probably the best of all time. But he's had performances like against Seattle in the Super Bowl. He was awful, and then it's not even that he can't win Super Bowls. It's just he struggles in playoff games. The year I believe he got put out by the Colts in the second round of the playoffs, and the Colts moved on, and it was just an absolute dump. Like, they destroyed the Broncos. And then on his record-breaking season, I felt his season was overrated because by that time his arm strength was not what it was. He was basically throwing 5-yard passes, and then his wide receivers would get a ton of yards after catch. I think he had like one of the highest wide receiver run after the catches in NFL history. It's just that Joe Montana, his nickname was Joe Cool. He always got it done under pressure. He had almost everything you wanted in the quarterback, and I just felt that Super Bowls aside, Joe Montana's just the embodiment of what you want in your star quarterback.
Well, that's about all the time we got for today. Thank you, Kyle. Thank you, Peyton. See you next time. I'm Chris Bogacki.